Hello and welcome to Brain Trust Live number 515.
This week on the podcast, how many times are we going to get breaking news that Trump is in the Epstein files? A thing we've known in our hearts since thinking itself was invented.
And at long last, Barack Obama has finally been told about the crisis in Gaza.
Plus, the Trump health controversy leads us to discover some shocking news. Mitch McConnell is still alive and still in the Senate.
And Democrats are so bad at their jobs that voters now trust Republicans more on tariffs.
Plus, the New York City primary results left Andrew Cuomo in a high school lunchroom nightmare scenario.
And if fraud is allowed now, why is George Santos the only Republican without a pardon?
We'll have all this and more.
This is Brain Trust Live. Hey y'all, I'm Brent.
I'm Lila, and you can find us on the web at www.braintrustlive.com.
Well, we had to get back in here and talk about the Epstein files.
Like every former Q member.
Yeah, I know. The files.
We've thought of nothing but the files.
I know. Well, that's what has been so delightful about this. Is like you and I were just sort of like talking about this. It's sort of like it's the nature of conspiracy theories and this particular conspiracy theories because, like, you know, MAGA is nothing if not an extension of QAnon, which is an extension of people who believe in Pizzagate, which was
which is an extension of
people... was Hillary Clinton running a child sex ring outside of a pizza restaurant.
These are people
or
who
inside of a pizza restaurant.
care so deeply about stopping child sex trafficking that they are trying to stop fake child sex trafficking.
That's exactly right.
Like this, there is no bottom to their care about this issue.
Yeah,
they made up sex trafficking to stop at a certain point.
And the funny thing is that like it will never go away. I think they've got, you know, they sort of hilariously went to recess early because I think they thought that if they just got out of town for like 5 weeks, then everything would go away. Yeah. And like, I've got news for them. And what's so funny about it is that it really is their own making, right? And they're never, and just sort of like the nature of conspiracy theories, like they can't fix it, right? No. So it's like, you know, they released the video and then everybody was like, oh, well, there's a minute missing.
Right.
And they had a reasonable explanation for that, right?
Conspiracy
theory.
Know,
and then now they're talking about they're going to release something from the grand jury testimony, right? But like inevitably, like there's going to be things that they like have to redact because there's things in there about people like who have not been tried, right? And so like they can't. There's like certain things that like I understand why the DOJ is not releasing, obviously, right? So it's like, but they can release 10 billion pages about Jeffrey Epstein and his family and his friends until literally the end of days. Yeah. And these people are going to be like, they're still going to have questions. They're going to be like, well, they will never be satisfied. No. And the what's great about it is that like they did this to themselves.
They're like deep in a crisis that no one needed to make in the first place, let alone of their own making. But like a lot of people voted for Trump specifically because he promised to release these files, forgetting not like, you know, we all have sort of our opinions about what would lead someone to vote for Donald Trump. And I think in a lot of cases, it's something that you couldn't have predicted that has nothing to do with what you suspect is the priority of a Trump voter. Yeah. Like, I think probably a lot of Trump voters are they passively racist? Absolutely. A lot of them probably weren't even thinking about race because they're white in America and they don't care about race. But they were like, we got to stop these sex traffickers. You know, a lot of them were also probably thinking we've got to save small business. I mean, people were thinking crazy things when they voted for him because there was almost no messaging to counter anything that he was saying.
Also that.
And so there is a whole group of rabid MAGA like Trump supporters, but not just Trump supporters, the people that prop up the MAGA movement who are like deeply obsessed with what began as an entirely fake issue with Pizzagate and has morphed. The only sort of outlet for it has been Epstein.
Right.
And so there's not a way to get away from this because this is the whole reason they voted for him.
No.
And it's also the only thing they care about. They don't care about their quality of life. They don't care about America. They don't care about the environment. They don't care about anything but this.
And they don't care that Obama committed treason. I love that, like, the immediate floundering after that Wall Street Journal article came out where, like, Trump was told that he's in the Epstein files. Like, he was immediately like, well, the DOJ is going to arrest Obama. Right. And then also they were sort of like, that's immediately when they started floating like these tariff rebate checks. It's like, they're just going to like start sending people free money again.
Right.
Which like,
go for it. Please do. Yeah.
I'm not here to argue with that, but like, it's just so hilarious that it was like an immediate like, guys, what do we do? Well, and the answer is you can do whatever you want, but it's not enough.
No, it's never going to be enough. Well, and also I think there's the kind of the delusion of Donald Trump to not think that the first thing we would learn about the Epstein files was that he was in them, when that's like common sense known passively by all people, and the very first thing Elon Musk said when he got out of Dodge.
Right.
We knew.
Which is because, by the way, he knew. Because there was also reporting, I think, that like wasn't it like Kash Patel who was like basically like running around and telling everybody in the administration that like that Trump had found out.
I find this so funny because at this point it's been reported as breaking news like 6 different times that Trump is in the Epstein files, and it's like that's the first person I would have guessed was in the Epstein files. Followed only by Bill Clinton.
Right, I know.
There are only 2 people on Earth that I know certainly.
I know.
For 100% sure.
I know.
Are in the Epstein files.
That has been my favorite thing about this, actually, is because there was some prominent Republican, and I can't remember who it was, but like he got some traction with like a tweet of a picture of Bill Clinton with Jeffrey Epstein, and it was just sort of like, you all Democrats who are asking for these Epstein files to be released know that Bill Clinton is going to be in there. And like every single person that like either I follow or just like showed up on my For You page on Twitter was just sort of like, yeah, we know, and he can fucking rot too.
Don't worry about it. Like, I'm not going to go down for Bill Clinton.
No.
Get out of here.
But that's the difference between conspiracy theories and cults.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think Democrats sort of edge up next
quality,
to it more than I would like them to with some of their elected leaders.
I think
but like
in a different political environment, they would have gone out of their way to suppress all of this to protect Bill Clinton. I think in this moment, their back is up against the wall. They are not doing their job. They are up against a guy who will say and do anything. And they sort of... That broke their loyalty to the Clintons, but it was the first time.
It was the first time. And you saw it sort of happen in real time because a few very prominent Democrats, Nancy Pelosi and Hakeem Jeffries, who you could argue are the most prominent in the House anyway, literally. You know, Nancy Pelosi said something about, I think she called it a distraction initially. And then days later, she was like, just kidding, we should actually release them. And Hakeem Jeffries did something similar where he was asked in a press conference and he was like, oh, I haven't looked at it, or some nonsense about like pretending like he didn't know what it was, right? And then like within the next couple days had also sort of released some mealy mouth statement about like releasing the Epstein files. So like, I think they are, for once, maybe taking a note.
It certainly has been a laborious
but
process.
But it was interesting to see it
happen,
sort of like happen for them, like as the news was moving.
And the whole reason that they are like sort of in a position where they need to take a note now is that they were trying to protect people like Bill Clinton with their initial statements, thinking, well, we can just bury this together. It's in no one's interest for this to get released. But actually, it's in everyone's interest for this to get released. And I don't care if 90% of the Democratic Party goes down with them. Nobody cares about them anyway.
Nobody cares.
They don't do anything.
Literally, we're gonna tell you about that in a little bit.
But like, there is no reason for them to save each other, especially retired Democrats, when things are going this badly.
Right, I know.
In any case, it has, I think, been also interesting on a different level, which is that I feel like I don't anymore understand what the game of the Wall Street Journal is, because of all of the papers to be the one to file the report that they were the ones who told, or you know, that Donald Trump knows he's in the Epstein files.
Right.
For it to be an outlet that has no sort of obligation to themselves to report the news.
I know, it's so weird. You asked earlier today, you were like, why was it the Wall Street Journal? And I was like, well, it certainly wasn't because they're focused on journalism.
No. Like, what are they? What's their game?
Right.
Who are they mad at?
I know.
Well, I'm so confused as, like, you would think from reading the New York Times that the Epstein files are both no big deal.
Sure.
And also no one's in them.
Yeah,
like, you would think that it's not a story that has anything to do with anyone in government. You would think that it's a story that we're blowing out of proportion.
Yeah.
And then the Wall Street Journal, famous home of borderline fully fake news reporting.
Yeah, and conservative fake news reporting.
Conservative fake news reporting.
It's like the Fox News of the newspapers.
Yes, is out here trying to tell me that, you know, Donald Trump himself has been made aware that he's in the Epstein files, to the point that Donald Trump is threatening to sue them.
Right. It's like, who are you?
Where's everyone coming from with this? This is crazy.
I mean, thanks, I guess.
But this is a really confusing time, and I think one of the worst parts about living through fascism is that it's like not clear where your allies in the fight against fascism are coming from, but also where they aren't. Yeah. I think you might have thought to yourself, it would be nice if the Democrats were with me in the fight against fascism. Right. They're not. Don't worry about them. They are falling for fascism and they don't care.
Yeah.
I don't like that, like, there are these little glimmers of people who, listen, I don't agree with on any front, but are very clearly too unpredictable to fall for fascism. Brent knows I'm talking specifically about Marjorie Taylor Greene in this moment.
I do.
The anti-war advocate, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Sure.
Looney Tune of a person, so Looney Tune.
No, she's crazy. She's
that she can't fall for fascism.
Right, she's both...
Her brain's on its own journey.
That's exactly right. She's both being very coherent in her anti-war messaging and also really banging the drum to like make sure that we like stop people from changing the weather.
Yeah. Right. No, you know about the space lasers.
She's got some bill that she's pushing right now about like how
weather conspiracies. There is no rhyme or reason to it, but it's like, I mean, I reference this story all the time on the podcast, but it's like the time that we saw Michelle Bachmann talk about how she became a Republican, where I was like, she took all the normal clues from everyday life and information, and she was reading Gore Vidal at the time, and like, she took all of that and her brain scrambled it in a wildly unpredictable way. And there's no way to have accounted for that outcome from the from the information that was input there.
Right. Not even AI could have known that that's what was going to happen after reading Gore Vidal.
That was just a wild turn of events. And I feel a little bit like living through fascism is like suddenly you're having to rely on that kind of brain chemistry in order to make any sense of the world, because it's like, all of the people that you would think would have considered approaches to fighting fascism are failing miserably. Yeah. But everyone who's batshit crazy is accidentally fighting fascism all over the place because they can't be pinned down.
No, I know.
You don't know what they're going to do.
Right. It's crazy.
You can't try fascism on Marjorie Taylor Greene.
No.
She will not be controlled.
She can't be.
And she should be. You know?
I know. We're not safer with her legislating.
Exactly.
Anything.
But it's like when things have gotten so bad that our current barrier against like full out fascism is somebody whose brain can't make logical connections.
I know. Well, I feel like there's always, every once in a while, you'll see something pop up when something stupid happens in society where someone is like, you know, was the fall into fascism always this stupid, or was the fall of Rome this stupid, or whatever? And then people obviously being like, yes, of course.
Yeah, obviously. Everything is always this stupid.
That's what we're doing here.
Exactly.
We're finding the stupidest of ways to ruin ourselves.
Yeah, and I mean, it is, if you can divorce yourself from the horrible consequences of all of it, it's been very entertaining to see who is and is not a fascist at heart.
Right, I know.
Like, I think that Marjorie Taylor Greene is an anarchist at heart. That's really what her sort of personal...
She would never admit it, and she herself doesn't yet know it about herself.
Exactly. But
so don't get us wrong.
Right, we're not suggesting
that
in the
she is in
complimentary
her
way.
current form.
Right.
That she is.
But she is sort of like an agent of chaos in her way.
Yeah.
And that is all she is. She can't get in line when her own people are running the show.
Right.
She doesn't have the ability to get in line.
Yeah.
And I will say that I think that the biggest protection America has in this situation is our lack of ability to get in line in really any circumstance at any time.
Sure.
I think I've said it before on the podcast, but we're just like very chaotic as a country, and like a more organized country would fall a lot faster than us. I mean, they're going to be trying to legislate all sorts of things that nobody can enforce here, in part because nobody knows what's going on ever. It's like, and you know, we got crazies like Marjorie Taylor Greene running around.
Yeah.
But I do think in the sort of march towards attempting to seem like they're doing something in Congress, a weird thing has been happening this week. In both the House and the Senate, and I guess also just like national level Democrats. Yeah. Where just now, in 2025, it's almost August. We're at the end of July in 2025. A bunch of Democrats who have been in office this whole time and or national level figures just found out there's a humanitarian crisis going on in Gaza.
What's going on there? Some of them are acting like they still don't know why.
Right. They're just sort of like, this wild thing is happening.
I know. That has been one of the most insane that, like, I don't even mean to laugh, obviously, because it's fucking horrible. But, like, the whole nonsense of everybody, like, releasing statements within, like, the last, like, 72 hours, like, is really bananas to me, as if, like, this hasn't been going on since, like, well, I almost said October 8th, but since before October 7th, right? I mean, like, long before October 7th, like, most, you know, human rights organizations, Human Rights Watch and various others had been, you know, pointing out that, like, shit was bad there.
Right.
So, like, this idea that, like, there hasn't been, like, starvation going on there, and, like, and also that there haven't been war crimes going on there. Right. Good God, Matthew Miller, who was a spokesperson for for Biden, like, just fairly recently said that, like, he acknowledged that he was, like, lying about war crimes when he was, like, you know, I mean, it's just, like, this idea that, like, yesterday there became like an issue where like people are starving there is insane. And then for some of these people who have like fairly recently themselves been, photographed with Benjamin Netanyahu. Cory Booker famously hiding in the back, literally trying to hide in this picture. You have to find it.
They are literally in a single file line, and then he is just like
ducks behind the person
next to him. It's more embarrassing than just being in the photo.
But so many of these people like released some sort of statement and did not reference Israel at all, and just referenced a humanitarian crisis as if like aliens
like
had caused it.
Like a crop crisis caused it or something.
Right.
Like, no, it's wild. But I do also think, get ready, because you're about to find out things are. It's sort of like has exceeded my imagination how bad things are in Gaza. So like I won't say that I can't imagine it being worse, because I literally lack the imagination for that. We're about to find out it's worse, though, because there's no way all of these people just came out in the last 72 hours to admit this crisis is going on without finding out some piece of information we don't know yet that is like so horrific that their voters actually won't stand by it.
Well, what I think that you may be right, but I think the other thing that could be happening is that like, and I sort of joked about this, I think, on our text thread, but like, I think that we have maybe just gotten to the point where they like literally can't do anything about it. Like, it's bad enough that there's like no bill that they could pass that would do anything. And that is, especially for Democrats, just the right time to weigh in.
They love the opportunity to get in there as soon as their agency in the situation has
because now they'll have been on the right side of history, technically.
Right. Oh, yeah. And actually, I think you're right that the week after summer recess starts is the perfect time to start going on about what war crimes are and aren't going on around in society, because that way people can go on their summer vacation, forget about it.
Yeah.
It's their last summer vacation probably ever, because we're going to have an economic crisis next year that we're never going to be able to stop working and or toiling in some capacity. But then everyone can go on their last summer vacation, forget about it due to the fun of being in the sun and splish-splashing around in a pool, and come back in September feeling like a clean slate of moral superiority.
Right.
And knowing
everything's fine in Gaza, and everybody's forgotten about the Epstein files.
Exactly. So that should be fun. But I mean, it really was like a who's who of like conservative Democrats who
have said nothing.
Who have said nothing.
Actively said nothing. Like Barack Obama released a statement the other day.
Right. And like, we're talking about Hakeem Jeffries, we're talking about Klobuchar, we're talking about Booker, but we're also Richie Torres has made a statement. Now that I would say has to do with the Mamdani situation.
Well, didn't Mamdani get like literally something like 87% of the vote, like in Richie Torres'
Richie Torres is going to lose his district, and he
wanted to run for governor.
Well, because of his district, he was a major Israel supporter, and so this was a huge turn of events in that district. At that district, I'm sure he's one of AIPAC's top recipients in New York State. He's
probably
representing a district that is fairly conservative on this issue, and I think. Or was.
What?
And I think.
Well, this has turned. I mean, there's how many?
This is not the case right now.
No, yeah, for sure.
And then, of course, there's Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Right, she used the word genocide today.
Like
what I'm about to say is going to surprise you because she's talking about genocide, but that tweet was otherwise very hilarious. Because she was dragging Randy Fine, who's a congressperson from Florida, and he said something so insane. I can't remember specifically what it was. I should have pulled it, but it was just he was basically egging Israel on to like continue killing and starving.
Like finish the job. It's something.
It was something horrible, but it was bad enough that AIPAC like now no longer lists him as one of their endorsed candidates, and like had to sort of like release a statement that was like, I don't know about that, friends. And so like, but Marjorie Taylor Greene like told like a pretty nasty story about like how he almost lost his district that was like a heavily Trump, and then also was like wanted to live in Washington as opposed to his district because like he couldn't imagine living in his district. I mean, it was like her dragging him for filth, basically. So it was a real stem winder of a tweet, by the way.
But her and Rashida and Ilhan, three people willing to refer to it, and the only three people really willing to refer to this as a genocide.
It's so crazy. Has Massey? Yeah, because I know he's been sort of,
Has he been sassy with Massey?
Hashtag sassy with Massey.
I love now when Brent reports Massey news because somebody gets to use the hashtag sassy with Massey, and that's brought joy to me every single time we've gotten to do it.
Yeah, and he uses that, by the way, if you're wondering what that is. He hashtags his own tweets a lot of times, sassy with Massey.
I love that for everyone.
Boy.
But yeah, it's an interesting time in the conversation around Gaza. I've also noticed that there's a lot of sudden action online where suddenly everyone's like, are you feeling helpless about Gaza? And
we did like the All Eyes on Rafah like a year ago. Do you remember that? When everybody was sharing that on Instagram? It's like, did we all forget that we've been...
No, I think what's happened is that, and I've actually been having a lot of conversations about this inside of other activist communities that are not focused on this issue, but obviously people are active on this issue.
Yeah, sure.
Where there's sort of been like a feeling of like, does anything matter? Does anything we do matter? And because obviously the plutocrats are in charge right now. We're not in charge. Regular people don't have a lot of agency over the situation. And I think what I've been saying to people is like, yeah, your humanitarian aid isn't getting there. And a lot of the things you would traditionally do to feel like you were at least doing something aren't helping.
Well, the humanitarian aid was kicked out.
Was kicked out. No, exactly. It's not getting there because it was kicked out. And people are like literally like putting rice in the sea, hoping that it makes it to, to Gaza. But I feel like the thing that you still have the power to do as a person, and I think this week is maybe an example of like how that power can begin to be useful, but I think it obviously needs to be multiplied, is like regular people can just set a vibe. Like the vibe of no one having time for this is in a situation where we have so little political agency.
Well, and the vibe
is as important as you taking tangible actions, because right now your tangible actions like aren't actually helping.
And that can sort of like move reporting on it, or it can at least make people take notice, which I thought another sort of ridiculous thing that I sent to you guys earlier today. There was that reporter who asked Trump if he agreed with Netanyahu that there wasn't a starvation crisis or whatever. I can't remember the exact wording, but Trump said, well, based on what I've seen on television, no, I don't agree with him. But that matters. Yeah. And also, not only does that matter, that wouldn't have been the case a year ago because that's not what they were reporting on television.
Exactly. No, I think people kind of underestimate the value of vibe setting because it's not a clear trajectory that you can measure. That doesn't have measurable outcomes. It can't be data-driven, whatever.
If you weren't on Twitter, you may not have known there was a humanitarian crisis going on Gaza.
Exactly.
So the fact that he was able to get that information from his own television is a change.
That was a vibe.
Right.
No, I think... like, the ability to, I think it's powerful when people presume that we all know it so that you feel like you've got to pretend you knew so that you start saying that to other people.
Right.
Like, I think people forget about the psychology of a situation like this.
Sure.
Where, like, the vibe everywhere you go with everyone in America should be that this is outrageous and that we should do something.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you know what to do or if you actually can do something. It matters that people are just, like, thinking about it as like an obvious thing that we would obviously want to do something about something like this. That moves political power in ways that are not direct and are not the most efficient routes. And I get that, but we also live in fascism and it's like there's only so much we can do.
Right.
But like you don't have to, setting an agenda and having an alternative still like helps move the needle in a situation where nothing else is helping.
Right.
And right now nothing else is helping. I don't know what to tell you. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've been noticing a lot of people sort of start to think about that, like what can we do in the absence of tangible action? And it's like, you can gossip. That's what you can do.
Yeah.
That's half of resisting this kind of bullshit is just that you have to gossip with everyone about it.
Yeah.
And that is an opportunity you don't get every day to gossip for America.
Yeah.
To gossip for Gaza. You can gossip for people.
Yeah.
Anyway, the vibe on the internet recently has been annoying me, so obviously I'm trying to revibe.
Yeah. Yes.
Vibe out the naysayers on the internet.
Yeah.
One way that has been helpful in terms of me doing that has been how deep I've gotten into Trump health conspiracy TikTok.
I know. It's so funny because I have seen some of these videos, but when you were preparing the notes for the doc so kindly while I was not doing anything related to this podcast today, you put that note that was like, how sick is Trump? And I was like, oh, it's interesting. She wants to talk about that today.
Yes, my favorite new internet conspiracy.
I know.
Listen, we are literally living in a world where the most determinative political action of the last year may have to do with the Epstein files. A topic I had no personal interest in whatsoever.
Yeah.
I wanted to be on my own conspiracy TikTok, where I didn't have to hear about the Epstein files, but I could hear about I could hear from makeup experts about Trump's hand makeup.
All right.
I could hear about the congestive heart
ER
failure.
doctors and nurses and various people.
I want to hear about. I want to talk about his stance. I want to talk about his eyes and whether they're red. I want people to be dissecting his every move, because my favorite. His whole agenda is to project strength. That's all he's doing, because he's not projecting ideas or understanding. He's literally just projecting strength. And to me, the idea that there is like a silo on TikTok that is entirely devoted to like discussing his hand makeup choices is delightful. Yeah. And I want to be part of every moment of it.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like it's a bit of a problem that Americans have become so accustomed to noticing heart problems via politicians' hands. I did have to ask Brent earlier today, is Mitch McConnell still alive? And he was like, yes. And I was like, is he still in Congress? And he was like, yes. And I was like, I was 50-50 on whether he had died. But the reason is because, A, I was reminded in the news of his hand issues.
Yeah.
And then the second reason is because I was reminded of his freezing, because also another fucking senator froze on air. This week.
Yeah,
John Kennedy. Just... You know,
he was getting interviewed from oh god, I can't remember, but it was on I think like CNBC or something like that. But he froze for like, I don't know, not that long. I mean, we don't know how long he was like actually frozen for, because whoever was doing the interview was like, oh, we're experiencing some technical difficulties, which yes,
you were experiencing. Not electronic technical
the electricity in his brain
did short circuit.
Did absolutely do that. So. Yes.
I also like that they must have a protocol for politicians freezing at this point. It's happened so often. So like to have a protocol on air that's like, if your politician interview freezes for no foreseeable reason and they're super old, you got to pretend it's a technical. You got to get out of there.
I know. I was about to say something about like, it's interesting that I love to talk about how old the Democrats are all the time, but it's always the Republicans that are freezing. But then my brain reminded me that the Democrats just die.
Yeah. Right.
because we've had like 3 or 4 Congress people just die since they got out.
Not even old. Not even that old. Mid-70s.
It's not funny, but you have to laugh, because what else are you supposed to do?
It's a little funny given how they're all conspiring right now to destroy our lives.
Right. Yeah. But if Senator Kennedy was a Democrat, he wouldn't have made it. Away already.
No, exactly. Yeah. Well, that is something a little impressive. In the same way that I often compliment Republicans for dreaming so big.
Yeah.
And sometimes dreaming of things that are ludicrous, that make no sense, and then enacting those things.
Right.
Without any apology.
Yeah.
I'm a little inspired by how they continue to stay alive despite all the obstacles in their way. Mitch McConnell has a lot of obstacles in the way of him staying alive right now.
And I'm using air quotes here, but like I'm going to say the word effective.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like...
At what they're trying to do. They're not effective at what I'm trying to do.
Because, you know, we had Dianne Feinstein.
That's right.
A notable old person.
Very old person.
But as per the reporting, the last at least 2 terms of her service there, she didn't know where she was.
No.
And I'm not saying Senator Kennedy, who just froze on air, is like a real expert on where he is. But I think, like... If you had to do sort of like a compare and contrast with him and Dianne Feinstein,
he's on television.
If I'm taking a bet here on who knows more where they are, and my options are the end of Dianne Feinstein's career before she died and the end of Kennedy's career before he died, I'm going all in on Senator Kennedy.
No, certainly. Mitch McConnell stayed very effective until the very end. It hasn't come yet, but I had forgotten about that. So in my opinion, he was effective until the end of when I stopped knowing he was alive.
I'm about to Google whether he's alive because you asked me and I answered very confidently. And we don't know.
We should make sure. There's been
Answer
so many
incoming.
There's been so many deaths in Congress this year. It's been a little hard to keep track.
Yeah, he's currently 83. So doing great.
He's like Nancy Pelosi's age.
Yeah.
Why is he doing so poorly at standing up? Well, I guess Nancy had to wear sneakers recently, so it's like she's not exactly killing it at the standing up game. But Mitch McConnell he's currently at the wheelchair game.
Yeah.
And I will note also, it's a little impressive that he's still alive because I, as you may know, have met Mitch McConnell because he spoke at one of the Zadroga app signings. And the one that he spoke at was, I believe, either the 2012 or 2010 or 2015. It was years ago.
Yeah. Felt old at the time, I'm sure.
Over a decade ago. Brent, he felt older than any person I've ever encountered in real life. He literally had to like hold on to people's arms to get himself to the podium.
Sure.
He was not in fine form. And the fact that this man, that's why I always think he's dead. Because he looked dead to me
right, how could he not
a decade ago. How could he have survived for the last 10 years at that level of death? But the fact that he is still not only alive, but in the Senate right now.
Yeah.
And has outlived like 4 different Democrats who were younger and healthier than him. It's a real mystery.
Yeah.
But it's something you can only do when you're truly evil.
Yeah.
And that's something to keep in mind. If you wonder why angry old ladies in New York live so long.
Oh, sure.
It's the rage that keeps them going. I feel like the Democrats have divorced themselves from reality to such an extent. They're not even operating on rage anymore. No wonder they're all dying. In any case, speaking of them, nobody likes them.
Nobody.
Like truly nobody.
Truly nobody.
Like they have no...
Right. And this is why I always get... I mean, there have been polls that have... We're going to talk about 2 specific polls, but there have been polls over the last year, certainly since the presidential election, that have been eye-openers for Democrats. And I always point to them when everybody was just sort of like... Democrats all over the country right now are being like, gosh, I can't wait until the midterms.
Right.
And I'm like, let me tell you a little something about the midterms.
Right.
Right now, only 33% of voters hold a favorable view of Democrats, and only 8% hold a very favorable.
Wait, also
view.
imagine you're asked this question and you're like, they are killing it.
Crushing it.
I love them.
Yeah, I know. Don't change. Right. Don't change the thing. Keep being losers until the end of time.
Exactly.
But that's like, they're at a net negative of 30 points. And also, they pulled specific issues, and the only 2 that they pulled better on are healthcare and vaccine policy.
That is so damning.
Right, because I'll tell you the other issues they pulled. Tariffs. You've been following what's going on in tariffs. You trust Donald Trump and Republicans to do tariffs? Friends, tariffs. Tariffs.
Well, to be fair, he's the only one who's reversed any of the tariffs, too. He's imposed all of them, but he's also been in charge of reversing them.
The economy, inflation, foreign policy. They trust Republicans more on those issues. That is diabolical.
It's so embarrassing.
It's also the lowest. It's the lowest in 30 years. Also.
Of course it is. This is
right. And then there was
bottom of the barrel sadness.
I know. There was a Quinnipiac poll, or Quinnipiac. We're on our our 12th year of debating how to say that. That has Democrats. Congressional Democrats specifically at 19%, which is also the lowest since they've begun asking that question, which was in 2009. They are the worst
of the Democrats.
That's true.
If you had to, on a scale of, federal level Democrats to state level Democrats to local level Democrats, I would say the congressional Democrats are the least effective and most hated and most useless of any of the levels of Democrat.
For sure.
State level Democrats, are they silly? Sure. Am I sitting out here like Gavin Newsom's killing it? No, I'm not.
No.
I certainly don't think Kathy Hochul has anything to recommend her.
No.
And I will remind you that Eric Adams was elected as a Democrat. So, it's not great shakes in there. But, compared to federal level Democrats, compared to congressional Democrats, they're killing it.
Yeah.
They're as effective as anyone's ever been at whatever they do.
Yeah.
Being foreign assets for Turkey or whatever it is that they're up to. I can't think of a group of people who do less every day to protect America from what is now encroached fascism than congressional Democrats. And who are more clueless about why people feel this way.
I know.
I mean, they just don't know.
They don't know.
And I bet that they're hiring a bunch of consultants right now to tell them, and those consultants are going to come back with what I would argue are not going to be the answers.
What?
And I bet that a group of 16-year-olds could tell them the answers.
Yeah. Well, and that's the problem. And they've been told that that's the problem, and they don't care that that's the problem because
they don't know how to resolve that problem.
They don't know how to resolve, and that's why I just sort of people. They don't know any people. No.
They don't talk to people.
Yeah, not right. They know the consultants.
They know the consultants. The consultants know them. None of those people are in a circle with just everyday people who live in society.
No.
Everyone knows what the issues are if they are everyday people who live in society. Right. I would guarantee that if I was given told what are the top 5 issues in America, or quizzed on what the top 5 issues were in America, and a random person in rural Nebraska was asked that question, at least 3 to 4 of those would be the same
crossover.
issues.
Yeah, for sure.
I would guarantee that Democrats would not guess the same 5 issues at all.
Oh, no.
They wouldn't even be in the ballpark.
No. No.
They're living, they only talk to the donor class.
Right.
The donor class only talks to them.
Yeah.
They all talk to the Republican donor class, so they all think that they're really progressive because they're on the most liberal end of being the donor class. Right. And no one has spoken to like a regular person in their community in decades.
No.
They don't know how to find them anymore.
No.
They have a list from Van. The list from Van doesn't have any accurate information. They're knocking on your door. You're not home because you don't live at that address anymore. And then they're just like, well, I guess we can't find them. Who knows how voting happens? Like,
oh, man. It's just so bad. And I just wish that there was I wish that they knew how to fix it. And they don't.
They don't, but I also think this is another example of where vibe setting is very important. If it's so embarrassing to be one of these Democrats because everyone in all of society has just passively accepted that you are nonsense people who don't deserve to have even a moment of respect, the problem will start to resolve itself without you. I don't think these people can resolve it. So I think our job is to set a vibe where they can't be there anymore.
No, I think that's absolutely right, and this is why I tell people that I don't vote for them, and I understand that you're often left with two choices, but I think that and it's unfortunate that we're in this position where the opposing party is the one that's taking us into fascism, but I would also contend that the Democrats are not taking us into fascism, and I just think that for me, it's important that these people don't go back to Washington.
Yeah.
And I understand that a lot of them will, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And, but I really do, I sort of joke about sending this party to the trash heap of history, but it really needs to be, in its current incarnation, it actually needs to be. And there's precedent for it.
Yeah.
And I know that will cause some trauma in the near term and potentially even trauma in the long term. Like I said, it's unfortunate that this is the time that this is happening, but they've helped bring the time. So here we are.
Right. They are the time.
They're not it. And I don't know what else to say.
Well, here's what I think. I feel like the first vibe everyone should set is not even worry about party. To just say, I'm not going to vote for any incumbents this year.
Sure.
Make it impossible to be an incumbent. Because a lot of this is just being caused by stodgy people who think Washington works one way and they are not responding to the reality that it doesn't work that way anymore. The law is gone. The rules are gone. There are only a few members of Congress who are even sort of slightly adaptive in that kind of a state.
Yeah.
And I think those members of Congress, the reason those members of Congress are people like Bernie Sanders is because those are people that have had to chart their own path from the beginning.
Right.
So they have to be responsive to reality because they have to look at reality and be like, where can I find an alliance here? But I feel like the first thing that you can do as a vibe setting thing is to not even worry about the Democratic Party. Don't ever say the word Democrat, Republican. Don't even worry about these people.
Sure.
Just be like, I'm not voting for any incumbents. And if an incumbent runs in your district, make them explain to you why you should lower your standard, which is to not vote for any incumbents, given how all of them suck, to vote for them. Make them sell you on the idea that they are different than other incumbents.
Sure.
And make it impossible for them to answer that question in a satisfactory way so that they can't be reelected. But that way, at least, they have to think to themselves, what do I need to bring to the table to not be this kind of incumbent? What do I need to bring to the table that is responsive to this concern that voters have right now that I share in the responsibility of? Because right now what's going to happen is a bunch of Democrats are going to go and run again, and they're going to be like, we're the better party. What are you going to do? You're going to vote for Republicans? You're not going to vote for us?
Yeah, and then
At
people
least
will.
We don't care about fascism. And instead what you should be saying to them is every single person who's in Congress right now is responsible for what's happening. That includes you. You are an incumbent. You have power right now. I'm just a regular person. You are currently serving in office right now. Tell me why you're different than these other incumbents. What are you actually doing in there that says that you are an effective person to send into a situation where you're claiming you have no power?
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
I think that is the kind of first line of questioning that those candidates need to be subjected to so that they just start thinking about it. That sets a vibe of them being like, maybe I should retire, which is the vibe I'm looking for.
Yes, for sure.
I'm looking for everyone to retire.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for just old people to retire.
Yeah.
I want every current member of Congress to be forced into an early retirement by their voters.
Yeah.
We still, at least for now, have congressional elections, so don't let them... Don't let people tell you that there is nothing Congress could be doing right now, because literally there's no rules. Anyone can do anything. So Congress can do anything.
Yes.
But also don't let people tell you that we have to run these elections the way that we ran them last time when we weren't in full fascism yet. Just set a different vibe. This is a perfect vibe setting opportunity. I'm setting vibes all over the place this year. I'm doing nothing constructive. I'm just gossiping. I'm going to tell everyone how to best vibe set in their own community. But I think this, in response to something like this, Democrats have a lot of clear, easily accessible options that they are going to choose not to exercise.
That's right.
They could message more effectively and specifically on issues that are listed in these most trusted by, Republicans issues. They could be clear about what the tariffs actually mean to your pocketbook and why they're bad.
Yeah.
They could talk about why what Donald Trump is doing is bad for the economy, but also what they would do differently that would affect you, the person that they're talking to, and not people, or only some subset of people that they think has means tested their way into deserving assistance. Right. They would talk about foreign policy in a realistic way where they would admit that they know what's going on in places and that we have a role in that. Yeah. It's not just saying that Gaza is in a humanitarian crisis, but being like, I am aware that the U.S. plays a role in that crisis. Right. And what I would do differently is stop X, Y, and Z and do this instead. Yeah. Like, literally just naming ideas.
Right, and that's
easy.
But they won't. But they won't. No. Right. Which sort of, I think, can move us into our next point, because we're going to talk about the New York City mayor's race, but to sort of segue into that, there was an interview that Pete Buttigieg did with NPR. And one thing that we talked about the last time that we recorded, which was after that mayor's race, was we talked about how Democrats were going to take the wrong message.
Yes.
Because we were...
Well, we lived in society.
Right. We had already seen a lot of the rumblings that were going around from various different Democrats who were sort of like, oh, yes, he won because of vibes, and he won because the kids liked him, and he won because he had great social media and all of this. And we said on this podcast, we were like, they are going to try and disappear the fact that one of the reasons that he won was because people liked his policies.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what is happening. And that is a message that they are going to not take, and it's just because they don't want to say that they want to give away free things, or or that people should have health care,
and that's why none of them should run or be allowed to,
or that we should defund ICE. And listen, I understand that's not going to work in literally every single district, right? But but Pete in this interview, he said, because he got asked about Mamdani specifically, and he said it's less about ideology and more about the messaging, or the message discipline of focusing on what people care about and the tactical wisdom of getting out there and talking to everybody. Now, first off, that barely makes sense.
He's just saying words.
But this idea that they don't have to talk about what they stand for, and they only need to be consistent in their messaging. And Rahm Emanuel said something similar, where he was sort of said something about oh, well, we just need to hammer on affordability and hammer on affordability. And he's not wrong there. But the problem with these centrists is, and even some people who would fancy themselves a progressive, is that Andrew Cuomo got asked about this, right? He said in an interview, it was sort of hilarious because he acknowledged that he wasn't focused enough on talking about affordability. And obviously that's a huge crisis. And Mamdani did a good job about that. And they were like, so what are you going to do about affordability? And this man looked the interviewer straight in the face and said he didn't fucking know.
Yeah. It's you can talk all day about the affordability crisis. I feel when voters can set a vibe because they're not in charge of what you say, but you as a candidate have to set an agenda.
Right.
You can't.
And people do care about. That's the thing that I think. There's how many issues in the world exist that are 80 to 90% approved on whatever the most left position is, whether it's Medicare for all, gun control, or anything like that. It's when you pull those things, it's always yes, give us the thing that the leftists want, right? But then you've got these centrist Democrats who are well, we can't do the thing that the leftists want, but it's not the leftists. It's all of America.
Right. Yeah, it's people. It's just people want it.
It's the American humans.
It's the American humans.
Right.
They don't know any of the American humans. As I said, they're speaking to the donor class. That's a different community of people.
But it's just the answer seems it's there for them.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. This approval rating conversation didn't need to happen because the answers to what they need to do to turn this around
they have them.
Are so obvious.
Right,
also,
I know.
They're just common sense. If they had ever met one human being who lives in society and knows anything about their own finances, not even America's finances, their own personal finances, and that not one human being who drives a Tesla and owns a $1.7 million home.
Right.
I'm talking about one human being who lives in a place, owns a maximum $400,000 home, and drives a Toyota.
Yeah.
And if they just talked to them about what would help their personal finances, they would know more about how to campaign to everyone than they are learning from, consultants who mostly just give them sayings about how, they give them framings where they get to say nothing while pretending like they care about broad subsets of issues. Talking about affordability is something a consultant might tell you to do, But they will also give you the language to talk about it without saying anything, and everyone can tell that you're not saying anything when you do that.
That's exactly right.
It's not secret.
Right.
When you've said nothing, people can hear you with their ears.
People smell the bullshit.
Yes, and
like,
especially
voters are smarter than we give them credit for.
Especially when there is one other candidate who's not bullshitting them, because that's the other thing. Is it's like normally they're running in these races where everyone is saying bullshit, and so everyone is just competing to see whose bullshit is slicker.
Yeah, caught everybody off guard that someone was giving it to them straight.
It's confusing for them, not for voters, but for them when one person comes in and is like, "Here's an idea."
Right.
And suddenly they're like, "Well, he's using his vibes."
We're supposed to have those.
He's using vibes. That's not fair. It's like, no, he named a specific idea. Like
that people would want.
Right, that people might want. And not even all people, but just people can see how it would be nice to have ideas like that.
Yeah.
It's all such common sense.
Yeah.
And they are also bad at it.
And this is why nobody voted for Andrew Cuomo in this mayor's race.
70% of voters didn't rank him at all. That's so embarrassing.
It's so embarrassing.
He spent $50 million on that race.
So embarrassing.
I mean, or 40. It was too much money.
Yeah.
For him to have not one single... measurable
there were
outcome that wasn't embarrassing?
There was every single conceivable combination of people that you could rank 1 through 5.
That's right.
And for him to not end up on 70% of those ballots is spectacular.
He knew so little about New York that he also didn't really understand the ranked choice system.
Yeah, because one of the most I saw the ballot breakdown, and one of the most common ballots was actually only ranking Cuomo number 1.
Yeah. All of these people didn't rank anyone. But there was just so few
of them. But nobody who even maybe vaguely liked him knew that they were supposed to maybe rank him 3, even if they liked one other or 2 other people better than. Like, they did such a shit job of just sort of like the mechanisms of how to vote in New York. Like, that almost to me is disqualifying.
Well, I was going to say, that's the thing that most pointed to him having no connection to the city. Because this is a lesson that was very hard learned in the last election.
Right, it was so close, and it came down to the last round, and Adams, didn't he win by like 0.8% or something like that?
And a lunatic won because half of the voters didn't understand how the system worked.
Exactly.
A foreign asset, if you will. A New Jersey resident and foreign asset. You know, it's a little embarrassing. Yeah. But people took that. That's why,
Not him.
That's why you saw people like Lander play a very different game.
Really doubled down on not learning any lessons about anything.
That's been his way. There's one thing. If there's one guy who might also be my number 3 pick for who's in the Epstein files.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, he seems like he might be in the Epstein files.
He's a sex pest.
I also feel like I'm willing to spread a rumor that any of these fools are in the Epstein files at this point. Oh, for sure. Like, I would love to dispel the idea that Democrats are trying to protect their own by naming as many as I can who I think are in the Epstein files, just to see what happens. In any case, in final and I think most important news, George Santos is headed to jail.
I think he might be there.
I think he's there now. Yeah,
I think he had to report because he sent this tweet last week, I think, or 3 or 4 days ago, and it was the day before he was reporting.
But he wrote us a little poem on his way out the door. So.
You want to do the honors, or you want me to?
No, I want you to do it.
Oh God, he said, "Well, darlings, the curtain falls, the spotlight dims, and the rhinestones are packed." Is he taking rhinestones to prison with him?
Well, you know him.
From the halls of Congress to the chaos of cable news, what a ride it's been. Was it messy? Always. Glamorous? Occasionally. Honest? I tried. Ellipses most days. To my supporters, you made this wild political cabaret worth it.
Political cabaret is exactly what this was, and I'm so glad that he knows.
To my critics, thanks for the free press. I may be leaving the stage for now, but trust me, legends never truly exit.
I do trust him.
Forever fabulously yours, George.
I love that guy.
Grant, you and I on a text thread were immediately just sort of like, do we have to put this guy in jail?
In this Congress, he could go back to Congress.
Hello?
The rest of them are actual literal felons.
Also, I think, isn't he like still a Trump stan? Like, where's the fucking pardon?
Who hasn't committed fraud in that party at this point? Who cares?
Yeah.
Fraud is allowed now. And this poor guy doesn't get a pardon. He has to go to jail with poetry skills like that. It's so sad.
It is.
Because it feels like, at the very least, we are owed some entertainment out of all of this.
That's why we
even
sort of
Trump has not been very entertaining of late.
No, if everything and everyone are going to be awful, and to your point, like, be doing criming out the wazoo.
Yeah, just full criming.
Then, like, let the one criminal who has been good television keep doing the criming.
Brought joy to our lives.
So much.
More joy than any of these other fools are bringing doing nothing.
Nothing.
Some of them aren't even criming. A lot of members of Congress right now are doing nothing in a real way.
Right.
They're not even bothering to crime.
Amateurs.
It's embarrassing. But I feel like there's something sad about a country that, lets Andrew Cuomo run for mayor and lets Donald Trump be the president and sends George Santos to jail.
Right?
It's like we don't care about the arts,
Right. Poor what's his name? Katara Rivash. Is that what it is? Is that what his drag name
Katara,
is?
it's Katara.
Because drag is art, friends.
That's right.
All drag is valid.
All drag is valid. And congressional drag, political cabaret, it's rare. Political cabaret is so rare.
He got it,
and
right?
He got.
We're always talking about how it's theater.
Exactly.
He knows.
He knew. He can't help but know that all of life is theater, which is, I think, both his downfall and also
really
the
was a
greatest
good
thing
time.
about him. I know.
Remember he was just stole a baby, ran around the hallway.
That was a great day.
That was so fun,
That was a great news
guys.
day. And now what do we have? Swazi in there? He sucks. Is he even worth trading
No.
a Democratic seat?
Not at all.
Trading a Republican seat for?
No.
He's barely a Democrat.
Truly.
So I would ask that as we think about how we want to proceed through these trying times, that we think carefully about how our choices are impacting the quality of the news reporting that we're getting, and think about how to make sure that we get to retain some joy in our lives as the world ends. It's like,
right?
All that we can do to fight fascism now is have joy. That's our best resistance against the encroachment of fascism.
Yep.
And so I would contend that the most fascist thing that the Republican Party has done so far is choose to not pardon George Santos while pardoning all the most boring criminals on the planet.
Yeah.
Eric Adams got a pardon.
Right?
He's barely political cabaret.
Well.
He's on the edge.
He's on the edge.
But he's no George Santos.
Wait, did you see that? I think I sent it to everybody, that clip of, you should find it online, of him turning on that fake modem for the
yes.
for the Wi-Fi that they're putting in like some Section 8 housing.
Yes.
It's the most hilarious thing that you had. It's
I think
so
only
bananas.
is there's been two other moments of press that I think it is in the sort of school of.
Sure.
One is the time he tried to do a hand heart with a robot.
Oh yeah.
That was, I think,
yeah.
That was a moment of political cabaret that I'll remember forever. And then the other was the press conference where he announced they were bringing garbage bins.
Oh, right, where he invented garbage
he
bins.
invented garbage bins.
I forgot about that. Yeah, but anyway, you have to find this clip because he they have this fake prop of like this gigantic like a modem or router or something like that, and he like fake flips it on, and then it makes like this absolutely insane, like very long like sci-fi sound effect as if they're like that modem is going to like take everybody to space. It's so stupid.
I do love his press announcements. I will miss those when he's gone.
Sure.
We have to take what we can get in a Santa-less world, you know?
Yeah.
In any case, that's the news.
I forgot he invented garbage bins.
We'll talk to you guys probably next week, maybe the week after. Nobody really knows with us anymore, but we're keeping an eye on things.
Yeah.
So don't worry about it. We'll talk to you later. Bye.